feathers if she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any recognitions tonight?
No, thank you.
Delegations. On the delegations, we have Mark Orso. Okay, sir. Step up here.
Okay. First of all, thank you for allowing me to come up this evening and speak to you all. Thank you for allowing me to come here this evening and speak to you. My name is Mark Urso. I'm in the construction business. Contracting. And in 2017, I started an anti-bullying program in Harrison County. Harrison County Schools allowed me to perform a pilot project at Robert C. Byrd High School. The project was so successful that in 2018, in the fall of 2018, we performed the program at all 6 high schools for the freshman class, as well as Doddridge County High School freshman class. The program is twofold. I feel personally, being in the construction industry, that there's not enough kids out there that realize they can get really well-paying jobs in our state and don't have to have a college degree. So we try to educate the kids about the tech programs within the county, the benefits, and we try to draw attention to those programs and how they overlap in the construction industry as a whole, natural gas industry, coal industry, and we can tell them about they can get, 6-figure jobs and not even have a college education. So we're teaching them about not going into debt. We're teaching them about opportunity, and we really feel that we're starting to have an impact on kids. In addition to that, the rest of the program, the remaining day of the school, so if it's an 8-hour school day, 6-hour school day, about 90% of the program is the anti-bullying program. The program is broken out into 2 parts. The morning session is about kids getting into groups, learning about each other. A lot of volunteers are involved. The kids start to learn things about their classmates that they had no clue. A lot of times kids don't know a family member has cancer, or a family is in the process of going through a divorce, or a family member just recently lost a job. And it's very easy for kids to make fun of each other when they have no idea how painful it is for that person. With the influence of social media today, when I was bullied as a kid in high school in the late 80s, at least I was able to turn it off when I left the school site. The weekends were back to me being Mark and doing whatever I wanted, but in today's world with social media, the kids can never escape it. So I feel that it's even more important for kids to understand how much of an impact they have when they do choose to make fun of each other, to tease them, to post things in social media, and the ramifications that happen today with suicide and things of that nature. So that's the program in a nutshell. We joined forces with a group from Cincinnati, Ohio by the name of Change Point. They have a very structured program. They run the program. We're there as a support to educate the kids early on, as I mentioned earlier, as well as to provide volunteers or assist in helping provide volunteers. In the Harrison County area, when I did the program, we worked with the Board of Education and we reached out to a lot of businesses in the area and we got sponsorships to offset the cost of the program. So some counties have elected, like Doddridge County, to just pay for the program because they felt it was so impactful when they attended it in the fall in Harrison County. But in Harrison County, they needed a little more buy-in after they experienced it throughout the county. And with that, we, as Bear Contracting, sponsored the majority of the program, but also had volunteers throughout and other donors participate in the costs, whether it was to provide food that day, help with volunteers, T-shirts, gift bags for the volunteers, things of that nature. So that's really about it. I'm very passionate about this program. It's awesome. Can't say enough, and highly recommended. If it's something that you all might want to pursue, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, is this a high school program, or is it a middle school program, or is it can it be both high school and middle school, elementary? What group was it basically intended?
Excellent question. Dr. Manchin in Harrison County, as soon as I made the presentation, he said the largest impact is kids from 4th to 6th grade, where bullying is the worst. There is a program for grade school and middle school. Once it gets to middle school, it is still a 6-hour program. The grade school program is a 3-hour program. I chose to do it across the board with freshmen, and the county was fine with my approach. The reason I chose to do that is I remember the worst bullying that I experienced at those ages, number one. Number two, I really felt passionate about educating kids in high school that they're 3 years away from making a business decision, a career decision, and they need to start thinking about these things. And what better time as they're freshmen to still take advantage of the tech school within the county. So I chose the freshman year and fortunately was able to get the county to agree to that age.
Okay, the cost that is in here, is that for, I guess what I'm saying is there a difference in cost from elementary to middle to senior?
I would have to get you more information on that. For the most part, it's about the same, but I'd be happy to get the breakdown.
Well, I was just looking at your breakdown that you had in your presentation that you emailed us or that we got.
Yes, sir.
And so should we decide that we wanted to try this and we said, okay, let's try it at Preston High. And we would just do that like for the first year. We want to try it at Preston High to see the effect, like you're saying, on these students that are in that age group that are going to be soon going elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
This is the cost you're saying approximately.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. In this package, you'll read that I don't know how many students are in the freshman class generally at Preston High.
300 or maybe 320.
Okay, so you generally want a 4 to 5 student to volunteer ratio. So you're looking at anywhere from 50 to 60 volunteers. Another reason why I chose freshmen is because a lot of times we incorporate not only the teachers that are available that day, but also the seniors. Seniors have a tremendous impact on freshmen. Freshmen, after just 6 weeks in school, think they're untouchable and they can't relate. So again, we try to offset. That's a big freshman class, or 350, 314. That's one of the largest. That'd be one of the largest classes that we would do, that we have done. Bridgeport was fairly close to that, 250, 260, I think. But we do the program in the gymnasium, and they stay there pretty much all day. So we have to have enough seats for them to be able to sit in a circle, a 5-person circle, and we have to have enough room to have 60 different circles, and so again, that's an approximate cost, but things that change with that is bottled water, what a hotel would cost for the counselors that do the program, where they would stay, whether they'd stay up here or stay in the Morgantown area, those types of things.
So if we would, Mr. Khan said, so if we did that in the high school, it would cost us approximately $4,000 to run that program. And
Yes.
then if we did it in our middle schools, then is that cost I guess what I'm asking, is that a cost per school?
Yes.
So if I went to like Brewston, I'm going to pay $4,000. If I go to West Preston, I'm going to pay $4,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, one of those large numbers that you can see there is the lunch for $1,000. Generally speaking, we get a volunteer or a donation for that, but we have also worked with schools where we incorporated lunch into the cafeteria program. Like with Robert C. Byrd, they had very strict guidelines because so many students qualified for assistance that they wanted lunch to be at lunchtime. So they juggled the day and got the seniors through sophomores in, and then we fed all the freshmen at the same time. Other schools just said, hey, it's let's bring in pizza, let's bring in hot dogs, let's do whatever, and we can get somebody to do that on a donation basis. We add their name to a t-shirt for the volunteers and put their name on the back of the t-shirt and drew attention to them.
Does somebody else have a question?
Yeah, follow up.
Yes, sir.
After you actually run the program at the beginning, what's the follow-up down there?
So excellent question. So it's 3 parts. The first part is, I don't know about Preston County, but in Harrison County as well in Doddridge County, all of the students have an iPad. They actually log on the day before the program takes place, and they answer a list of 10 to 15 questions. And they're trigger questions that try to trick them about bullying and so on and so forth, school, what they're thinking about career-wise, so on. At the end of the program, when they go back to their home rooms for dismissal, they answer those questions again, but in a different format to see how it's affected them. That information is provided to the county, okay? In addition to that, we work with the counselors at that school and get any feedback, as well as when the program's actually taking place, if we see anything that the county needs to be made aware of right then and there. We've had situations of sexual abuse that the counselors at the school weren't aware of. We've had situations of physical abuse that the counselors needed to be made aware of, and those were addressed right then and there. And we really turn that back to the county so that the county handles it the way the county does, not a counselor from Cincinnati, Ohio. So it's very much the format, the questions that are asked. In the morning, it's team building. It's getting to know your fellow classmates. In the afternoon, it's a visualization of the hard questions. We put painter's tape down across the gymnasium floor. Everybody stands on one side. It's called crossing the line. How many of you kids have experienced somebody be diagnosed with cancer? Any child that has experienced that, they cross the line. Now all of a sudden the students are seeing how many kids of the 300, 40 of them cross that line I didn't even know. We send the high school principal those questions and say, are these appropriate questions to be asked? A lot of freshmen in high school have no idea that they're breaking the law viewing a picture of one of their classmates undressed. They don't realize that that's child pornography because they're under the age of 18. So little things like that we try to educate them on throughout the day and just make them aware that it's not their parent telling them it, it's somebody that is trying to just advise them or educate them on it. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, part of it. I was also looking at, like, down the road to say Johnny 2
That's an excellent question. I've never been asked that question before.
Well, I mean, usually that's how it happens. They go there the first couple weeks, nobody gets bought. Then after a while, it
Well,
sets in, it comes back.
Right.
Johnny's losing his lunch money every day.
Sure.
Or, this kid's got him set up because he knows where his class is and is waiting for him every day.
Right. So two things I'll make a comment about that. Number one, we generally don't recommend the program to take place for at least 6 weeks into the school year, because you're exactly right. Second of all, they don't know who doesn't like them yet, really. Nobody's really, because they're so excited about being in school, back in school, football's in, so on and so forth. They haven't picked out those groups yet in force. So we like to try to introduce it 8 weeks into the school year or so, and then really have an impact. The counselor, one of the biggest reasons why we like to have the teachers involved in the program is because sometimes kids will go to a teacher rather than to a counselor. Kids have told us, I don't like to go to the guidance counselor because the guidance counselor only wants to talk to me about going to college, and I don't want to go to college. They don't push the tech center, so I don't feel comfortable talking to them. But when their English teacher is experiencing cancer just like they are, and they didn't even know it, or divorce or whatever, they sometimes find their way back to that person. So it does work, but it's working through the school itself.
Okay, you said 50 or 60 volunteers. Who's responsible to recruit the volunteers?
What we do is we work with the high school and find what we call a champion volunteer. And that is somebody that's very influential in the community. Their kids go there, they were a past superstar athlete, whatever it may be, and we work with them in driving those volunteers. We also work with the principal on how many high school seniors wouldn't have to go off campus. I don't know if your high school seniors go off campus for their college classes or not, but if they can miss one day or if they're gone, then we know who's available, and we kind of get it down and boil it down to, we don't need 60, we need 45. Okay, how are we going to get to 45? And then we work it backwards so that we make sure we have it.
Okay.
And if we're short, I'm going to find them for you.
Okay, is the program, you're talking about an all-day program.
Yes, sir.
Is this one day out of the school year?
Yes, sir.
Is that possible to do like that? Okay. So, and you're saying sometime after 8 weeks or so is when we would have to do this. And, how long does it take for your results to come back to the school?
I think our hope would be instantaneous.
I was going to say,
You're saying some of the problems that you get on right away like that are things, but some that I'm sure some of the questions and some of the things have to be analyzed on about how many people answered the question, or how many people answered it this way, or how many people answered it that way. So where does all of that analyzation come in?
I don't know the answer to that. Maria Reppert, that works in my office with me, is the one that I never thought to ask that question. I don't know how quickly ChangePoint gives the information back to you or back to the principal. I think it's within the same week, but I need to confirm that.
I mean, that's just something that
But-
that would be, that the superintendent, the principal, and whatever.
Add on to that, Mr. Cox, confidentiality with that, going to change point and coming back, who actually has, access to that data, depending on the question, I'm not sure who, but I mean, some of the questions may be personal.
Is the survey, is the questionnaire anonymous?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And there's not any. It's that they don't dive into any detail in terms of, personal type things. It's more, you know, how do you feel about bullying now? Or how do you feel about your classmates? You know, what have you learned? That basic things like that. But you will see instantaneous results before kids leave school. Just to tell you a quick story, I know you all are really busy, but I've done this program 8 times now, okay?
This is really important to us. We gotta make some decisions about it.
So I've done the program 8 times. The last school I did it at was Liberty High School. Liberty High School a year earlier had a suicide in the freshman class, okay? So this is a new freshman class. My wife, we were short volunteers. I called my wife. I said, get here now. You've got to do one of the groups. My wife rolls in, sits down. My wife, within the first 5 minutes of being there, is in tears. She comes to me. She gave me a nod. I walk over because I was kind of quarterbacking the next steps. She said, you got to help me get through this group. I sit down. The boy sitting at the table repeated what he said to the group to me, apologized for upsetting my wife, but says to me, I'm 16 years old, I'm 2 years older than everybody in this group. My dad's in jail, my mom's a drug addict. I've gone in 6 different families over the last 6 months. I finally landed with an aunt that's decided to take me in. And I'm not going to have anything in common with any of you, but I'm here because at least this aunt will put up with me. At the end of the day, after the kids see the painter's tape on the floor and they cross the line and experience things and visually see what classmates are going through, at the end of the day, one of the people with a microphone goes around the room and asks if anybody has anything to say or anybody wants to get something off their chest. That same boy stood up, grabbed the microphone and said, I want to talk to Jeff. And he calls out this boy's name, and this Jeff stands up all the way in the back corner, very introverted kid. And he says, Jeff, I want to apologize to you because I beat you up 2 weeks ago and left you in the parking lot, and I didn't care whether you ever got up. He said, I realize I'm wrong, and I hope you'll accept my apology. Now, are you kidding me? A kid that has no reason to apologize, that has every reason in the world to say, what about me? I'm the victim, did that. And hopefully we changed his life. And I could tell you hundreds of stories. My bullying experiences were about, I didn't do well in school at all. I'm the opposite. I'm dyslexic, I'm dysgraphic. Everybody made fun of me of how bad I did in school. I got a 9 on my ACT test. Didn't even know that I should not tell anybody that. I didn't know that everybody else was getting 18s and 21s. I'm like, yeah, I got a 9. What'd you get? And it just went on. So all of a sudden you start to realize, wow, maybe Mark's not dumb. Maybe he just learns different. Why now I see why he did good in this class, he didn't do well in that class, because that teacher just never got through to him, or they never connected, or maybe he needs time for books, or doesn't do well with test anxiety. So it's unbelievable what the program does. I mean, instantly I get phone calls. You've had an impact on my child today. I want to volunteer. I would never endorse something that I wasn't passionate about, and I'm telling you, you'll be glad that you did it if you elect to do it.
If we chose to do it, would we contact you?
Is that
the information?
I am happy to do it and spearhead it because that's how passionate I am, and I have a goal to do it in all 55 counties before my time here is done. But if you all feel more comfortable doing it directly with ChangePoint, I'm happy to stay out of it. It's whatever you want. There's been situations where I've recommended with Doddridge County, Antero Resources does a lot in that county, and I recommended Antero kind of spearhead it. And Antero had already done a lot of things for Doddridge County High School and elected to sit on the sidelines, and they sent volunteers. But I'm happy to spearhead it. I'm happy to do it for you. There's nothing in it for me. I just am passionate about doing it. and I want to see it done right, and I want to try to get local industries. If somebody else wants to come and talk to the kids, that's a large employer in this area, and they can have more of an impact because everybody knows that person, I'm all for that. It's just getting that word out there. So however you want to do it.
Do we have the contact information and everything for the change point?
I don't,
Isn't that in here?
I didn't, I just glanced through it, I don't remember seeing it.
I'm not sure if we gave their full contact information. I would rather send you all who I would prefer you to talk to with them, Pete Bryant, the owner. But again, I'd be happy to deal with it for you, just because.
I mean, I see you're probably busy with your own business also. And, I appreciate the fact of your passion for helping bullying. I think everybody that's sitting up here has that same kind of wanting to see it stop because we see so many things that's happened. I just, what I think, and I'm speaking as just me personally, I think this is something we need to move forward with. I think we need to investigate and see what we need to do, what it would take, and how we could go forward with this. I mean, I don't know if any of the other board members, do you have any? I feel confident because Ms. Feathers is the one that sent me the information originally and that she was very passionate about it, and I think that she still is.
I have a couple questions though. Other than the instant gratification, because I get that, you have that feel good moment. But along the lines of what they were saying, do you have group questions like later on in the year that are like driven a little bit differently to see if some of that has worn off, or what about the school's attendance and their discipline actions, measures, stuff like that that can actually,
We would have access to their attendance and discipline to see if after the program, those numbers improved, in our favor. As far as like a follow-up questionnaire, I think to get to those same questions to see if there was a lasting effect. Is what
yeah,
you're asking.
yeah.
Do you ever follow up the year after?
Where we've seen that it has the biggest impact is if the program's able to run a minimum of 4 years. Because by the time the seniors or freshmen or seniors, they,
My next question is, you're gonna start out with the freshman. When you come back the second year, are you going to be with that sophomore class, or are you gonna be with the freshman again?
freshmen.
Okay, I just didn't.
But I think there would be sophomores there, Jack, that would see them back in the building and would know what was going on, and that would remind them of
Yeah.
exactly the experience.
Well,
they
that's
had.
what I was.
And I think that's what
And the
he's
kids
saying.
don't know what's
If you
going
did it
on.
4 years with the freshman group every year, by the time you got to the 4th year, your 9th through 12th grade would all have been through this process.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have one more question about, do you recommend that the faculty go through the program with the kids?
Yes.
Because, and I mean.
And we don't,
You get that anywhere, like, it's their job, they're there every day, just like a doctor, they do that every day, so they talk every day. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes our teachers become, I think it would be good to have the
It would
faculty.
be eye-opening for teachers to hear these
Right.
kids, and I think it would also be eye-opening for kids to hear some stuff from
Exactly.
absolutely. It is, I have had more teachers tell me they got more out of the program than they could have ever imagined a kid could get out of it. Because, look, we all realize that, you start hearing about certain kids or certain kids' brothers when they're in junior high and they're coming. And as soon as they came through the door, they're already stereotyped, right? But when the teacher starts to understand a little bit more, it changes. we do not recommend freshman parents participating because the kids shut down. They will not voice their opinion. We actually don't even want the freshman parents in the building if possible. You know. Well, if you're going to have a freshman, you can, but just keep in mind that you know,
You're up on the second floor.
with their phones in their hands, you know, we try to get them to put their phones up. It doesn't always work, but with their phones in their hands, they quickly know who's there and what's going on, and they stop crossing the line. And you know, it's you know, we've had situations where a teacher had a freshman, and she insisted on being a volunteer, and it was a moving experience for her, but you know, we still weren't 100% sure that the daughter opened up as much as she wanted, and her parents just recently divorced, so it was.
I think so your contact information is in here, so.
Yes, sir.
If we contacted you up front to get connected with Change Point, or then we worked out how we were going to proceed, we could go through you up front.
Yes, and you know, again, I don't mind having Maria Reppert in my office. She handles all of our marketing and everything, spearheading this. You know, you all cut the check directly to Change Point. It doesn't have to go through me. I'm in the process of setting up 501c3 so that, you know, as we do get donations in, we can, you know, filter those the right way and it be, you know, a tax benefit to those that donate. But you know, I just like to be involved because I do like to talk to the kids. If there isn't somebody that wants to do it, I'm happy to do it because I just, you know, I like kids to realize that I was just like them, you know, and.
Okay, does the volunteer have to go through any kind of a class or preparation day?
So the first thing in the morning, I go into the auditorium, or whoever speaks to the student body, the freshman class, and tells their story, goes in for about 15 to 45 minutes, depending on the time frame, and I talk to the students and take questions. While that's going on, the volunteers are in the gymnasium with the Change Point counselors being taught what they're going to be doing for the day. Each volunteer is given a card, and the card has kind of an outline on it and tells them what's happening next, what they're doing, and it's just kind of a little bit of a lead for them. So they go through about a 25-minute orientation while the students aren't there, and then they're good for the rest of the day. The rest of the day is really run by the counselors. It's just the teachers are there or the volunteers in general are there to stimulate the conversation, to get it going. You know, the first time they all get together in a group of 5, we make them have almost their knees touching, so they're uncomfortable with who they're around, right? But then as soon as they start, you know, somebody starts telling a story about themselves.
Do you let them pick their own bubble or their own?
No. Part of the things that we do, you know, we you know, go around and count 1 through 6 or 1 through, you know, in that situation, whatever, with 300, and we make sure that they don't have the same number. And then if we notice that, you know, if one of the teachers says, hey, they're best friends, then we go and, you know, hey, you need to switch with this person. That all takes about 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the beginning, but they do a lot of things just in the gymnasium as a whole, you know, going all the way around and doing some funny things and to get to know each other, where we're forcing them across the room and into different groups, and they don't know it, but it's good.
Are the teachers part of the volunteer group?
Yes. You know, we make they don't have to be. They don't have to be, but we recommend it.
I was trying to understand all these things.
So we make them be just like a student. So when we tell the students to get up and do something funny and, you know, let their guard down a little bit, we make the teachers do it first so that they can say, hey, you know.
Okay, does anybody have any further questions or anything? Like I said, way a long time ago, I think we should proceed with this to find out if there's
However you all want to proceed, I completely understand, and I think it would be great. Change Point's schedule is filling up, so, we might not be able to get them in here right at the 8-week mark or right at the 6-week mark. It might be closer to Christmas before we get them here, but sometime in that first semester is ideal. And
Well, we'll talk about that here.
Okay.
Mr. Urso, and then I'll get people here who are going to spearhead it from here to work with the high school, and then get in contact with you so that we can get a plan.
great, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Superintendent's report?
Okay. Last week, actually, Pam brought it to my attention. There were some water issues at Preston High with water coming into the building. I'm not sure we truly figured out where all it was coming from. We did get a,
Points were sealed.
I was gonna say.
I checked the building on Friday and on Sunday during heavy rain events. There
Yeah.
was no apparent water in this area.
but it was Friday night. Brad and Mr. Sines and his family and Brad's brother Paul were here till after midnight, cleaning up water and moving computers and stuff. Yeah, Alan Corbett, because of water coming in. But we can check after this little bit of rain today. But so far we think the problem has been solved and the water problem is done.
In that old
Yes.
band room?
No, actually, this was in the, what was utilized as the piano room,
Okay.
ground floor. I came in yesterday, again, we had a pretty decent rain event yesterday afternoon, and no water. I can't see any place where it came in through the city. There is one section where I noticed some removal of ceiling tile, but again, yesterday we had a similar rain event with no occurrence, so. I don't know if it's
We're not
backing
sure.
out occasionally, if we're getting significant amount of rain, I don't know exactly, but we definitely need to try to ascertain that.
Exactly.
Back entrance where the trash is,
Yes.
that room there.
Yeah.
I can remember one time when it rained there, and I'm sure we changed everything up there, but the water was connected somehow to another duct, and it was actually coming up, overflowing.
Well, that could be what
I
happened.
mean, Austin, it was deep, I mean.
And the janitor's in there with I said, you're standing in water, and you're mopping that up, and I'm like, you're
Well,
but it was coming
yeah,
up.
something very similar to that could have happened again to get that much water in there. Because we've just had so much rain, but
Somehow there was plumbing connected to, there was too much water on the roof, and it backed up until it was hooked up to the roof plumbing, but that was years ago.
additionally, I provided you a letter from Kingwood Elementary and some signatures at your stations there. It was just a resolution originating out of Kingwood Elementary, supporting the After School Explorers program. There are several signatures on it that just talk about the importance of After School Explorers, what that program has meant to our county and the number of kids it has helped, and just hoping that we'll continue with after-school programming. I can tell you we submitted 3 different after-school explorers grants. We were hoping to find out by the end of June, but now they've pushed the announcement back till later in July. So we won't know if we receive that funding or not till later this month.
And that's every school
Well, the 3 grants, like
would cover each school?
one grant covers Central Preston and Preston High. Then the other 2 grants each do 4 schools each, and that covers all 10.
Right.
But it depends on which ones we would get funded, and hopefully we'll get them all. We'll see. There has been a change in the law, surprise, surprise, that's going to affect our calendar of meetings in a sense. The new law that was just passed in the legislation eliminates the meetings with LSICs. So that's off the books now. We no longer are to meet with the LSICs. The only time that you meet with the LSIC is if a school has been designated as a low-performing school by the accountability system of the State Department. So we will not have that information from the accountability system till much later this fall. And so we don't have to change the dates of meetings, but I would suggest we just change the location back to here, because we won't know until after the accountability system comes out who we're required to meet with and what we're required to do in those meetings, because there's
Okay.
two different laws that affect that have been passed.
Are you saying that we can't? What if we want to do that?
Well, you can, Jack, but what I would say is, based upon the accountability measure, there's going to be specific things you have to address that we're not sure what those are yet. And so I don't think we want to have multiple meetings. And so I think we need to wait to see what the accountability measure says, and then schedule meetings with those that we're required to. If we want to schedule meetings with others, you can, but we don't know where we stand in the state yet with the accountability measures.
Well, I understand
So I'm not
that.
sure what we,
But I also understand the fact that I think the communities enjoy the fact that the board comes to them and sees and sets and listens and
Well-
whatever
When
to
will we
be.
get the accountability?
well,
October, November.
it'll probably be late October, early November. And by that time, technically, we would have had the bulk of our
Yeah.
meetings by then. But I can tell you, I'm not opposed to going out to the schools to hold our meetings, but I can tell you, every single one of them despise having the LSIC meetings, including the LSICs themselves. Nobody likes having that meeting with the board.
It's work.
Because it seems to them to be busy work, and their perception is they're forced to stand up and do this
Okay.
dog and pony show, and that
So,
nobody cares.
so
That's-
that's to me, this law is even more important to the fact that if we go and we don't have to have a dog and pony show, we just go there to have our meeting, to meet with the people, to talk with people, to see if there's any problems or anything. And they don't have a form that they have to fill out. They don't have
They don't.
like, I mean, just so that we get accused of doing things behind their back all the time. And I think going out into the public, into these meetings, is something that's very meaningful to the communities to know that, hey, they're coming just because they're coming.
Well, like I said, I'm not opposed to going out and having the meetings.
But I agree with
But-
you, we need to wait and see the ones we really have to go to. And then, after we do that, maybe we can say, okay, we're gonna go such and such a place, and we're gonna have 2 or 3 schools that are gonna be invited. Then we're gonna go to such and such a place, and we'll have 2 or 3 schools that are gonna be invited. Then we gotta go to this school because they have a problem.
If,
And-
if we have to have a meeting with the LSIC, does it have to be at their school?
No.
Okay, so why don't we just leave the schedule the way it is and call it visiting? And then after our scheduled LSIC meeting dates, then we schedule the ones we have to have a meeting with, and they come here.
That can happen.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's, yeah.
Okay, so then we won't change the meeting locations. I'll just inform principals that they don't have to do any type of
Right.
LSIC presentation at this
Right.
point.
We're just
Okay.
gonna come visit, yeah.
Yes.
Don't you think it's gonna end up then being like the levy meetings, you have maybe 1 or 2 people there?
I absolutely think that.
Well, but the thing of it is, you do this for a year. If there's no turnout and there's nobody there, then they can't say we just shut them off.
I mean, I think there's evidence. I mean, hi Susie. there's evidence that Susie comes to our meetings and that the press comes to our meetings, but this is pretty much it.
That's true, but I still think we need to
Well-
go to the communities and make them shut the door.
That's the pleasure of the board, and we can do that.
Well,
And then
that's, yeah,
I'll know,
that's my opinion.
I mean, you've already approved the calendar, so I guess if you want me to change that, I can bring it back for location changes. That's just up to you all. But I needed to make you aware of the law change. I have a copy of it. We have to put this into our policy. We met with Dr. Rozier, I don't know what day that was, Friday, and he's working on updating our policies to bring before you that has all of the new legislation in it. So you'll be able to see that. But the law now says that you are required to meet with any LSIC designated as a low-performing school by the state accountability system, and that's the only one that's required.
Okay.
And right
I would
now,
say-
we have 0 schools identified. So if we maintain that, next year, or this coming year, there are no required meetings for the
I would
LSICs.
say that you put the calendar back on the agenda and bring it back, everybody can think about it, and then if anybody has anything to say or any changes they want to make, that we can do it.
Okay, I'll bring that back on the next agenda. Okay. In an effort to increase our transparency, and for the purpose of board meetings, we're going to be moving to a new platform called Board Docs. Board Docs is used by most of the counties in the state of West Virginia. What really got me sold on this platform is that all of our meetings are videotaped, and then, for example, let's say we're having a levy discussion. Then the Board Docs team, they take the video of the entire meeting and they put it into snippets. So if a person in the public wanted to go onto the site and then look at what discussion we had about a levy, they click on that, the video comes up with that just 11-minute discussion. They don't have to sit and weed through the whole thing. It's all sectioned out. So our training on that is July 22nd, which is the next board meeting. And the trainer would like all of the board members to be here no later than 4 o'clock that day. And then you won't have to come in on an extra day. You can just be trained prior to our board meeting at 5. So if you could be here at 4 o'clock on July 22nd. And I'll follow that up with an email to you. And we'll train from 4 to 5, and then we can just go into the board meeting. We're going to be printing a quarterly publication just on our school system. I've given you a handout that shows you the kind of information and a sample from another county of what it looks like, because we want to showcase our board members in this booklet that we put out. So you can decide how much of your contact information you would be comfortable. This would be a publication that's going home to every single child in our system. And of course you would get a copy of it. And we're going to stockpile it full of information. One of the things we have to do every year, like we have to send out student rights and responsibility things through special education, etc. So we print those separately, and then we print the calendar separately, and then we print all this other stuff each separately. We're compiling this into a 14-page publication that will come out each quarter, and we'll be putting some of this stuff that would eliminate single sheets of copying all over the place throughout the year. We'll put that all into this book that I think you'll really like it once you are able to see it. And again, that'll go out 4 times during the school year. So if you have a picture of yourself that you would like us to use, if not, we'll snap it and get it for you. Okay. I have been randomly selected, so lucky me, for federal grand jury duty. So,
You can't get out of that one.
Oh,
I tried.
lucky you.
But, so, I had to call today, so I have to report to Clarksburg tomorrow. I have been selected in this position for a year.
Yes,
Yeah,
you are.
that's
So,
the way it is.
I have to be there
Been there,
tomorrow.
done
They
that.
said to expect to attend 2 days. So I am planning on being there tomorrow and Wednesday. Of course, as it would have it, I had already planned vacation for Thursday and Friday. So
If
I'm
you get
probably not going to be here
selected,
the
your
rest.
vacation might be in Clarksburg.
Well, I may be in jail or divorced if I don't go on this vacation. So we'll see. But anyway,
You probably will not be selected.
yeah. Well, they said that throughout the year that it only constitutes about 2 days per month. But I thought I should let you know that. So I will probably be out the rest of the week.
And probably
Because of
what,
that.
Steve, what'll happen, speaking from what happened to Jackie, she had to go to Elkins. She went down, was interviewed, and they said, you don't even have to show up again, ever, all
Okay.
year.
Well, I'm not going to Elkins. I'm going to Clarksburg. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is not.
See, I went
this
to
is the
Clarksburg.
grand jury.
Oh, you're a grand jury.
So I'm grand
She
jury.
was
I went,
trial jury.
yeah, I went to Clarksburg and.
Oh, you had to do this too?
Oh, yes, and just like they said, you went in 2 days and they would have, okay, we got this and this and this and this and this, and they would look at you and they would say, you're not gonna fit into any of these, see you later.
Okay.
And then the next month you went back and you did the same thing. Now,
Well-
lucky me, I never got chose.
I will not be able to be contacted or check email because I'm not allowed to take my cell phone
Right.
in
With
this
you.
courthouse or any electronic device. So I will be detached from the world till I.
Take a
will-
look.
That'll be a
I'm done.
vacation,
Take a look.
just saying.
So that's everything that I have. Yes. Oh yeah, I forgot that.
That's based on 80% of the projected data costs for the coming year, which we did see an increase in our expected expenditures for internet usage for the coming year due to the levy, which we're seeing an increase at basically doubling of our bandwidth at each site. So that has been approved. You know, what we have to do is basically compile our invoicing at the end of next year and file for reimbursement. Generally, the reimbursement is sent we used to get a physical check, now it's all electronic, where it's deposited into our accounts automatically. But right now, I know Mrs. Fike is compiling our invoices from this past year for our potential reimbursement. Now this year, we get reimbursement for 10% of our total phone costs, cellular phone costs, long distance costs, and we get 80% reimbursement. Well, actually, we're getting a little higher, so I think it's an 85% reimbursement for data costs for this year. Next year, we will only receive reimbursement for our internet data costs, which that's been phased out over a number of years. The phone was just being dwindled down each year. The laptops, as per the information provided to you at the last meeting, the laptops and bags, quantity of 750 laptops and bags have been ordered. That order was processed on Friday. We anticipate the bags, would anticipate would come pretty quickly. The computers themselves, they said approximately anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks for those to arrive. So once those begin, we'll begin the imaging process. We're doing imaging on any computers we have on hand right now that are coming back. I think that's all.
Thanks.
And Paul told me that he already has all the old, the ones that he bought in the past, ready to go.
Yeah, with that water issue the other night, we're probably not gonna be back a lot of Fortunately, I don't think we had any extensive damage. We took photos just in the happen chance we would have any extensive property damage there, but I think fortunately we were okay. I got advised, Mr. Plum got over checked out, and collectively, most of the tech staff got over and got, I think we got everything salvaged.
Any further questions for the superintendent? If not, I'll ask for approval of the agenda. Motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Feathers?
Yes.
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 Ms. Yes, 5-0. We have no policies, right? Routine business.
Well, you have the consent agenda of approving the
Oh, the
minutes.
consent agenda, yeah. I got ahead of myself there. Approval of the consent agenda.
Move the acceptance of the recommendation.
Is there, been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
Who was the seconder?
Mr. Ridenhour.
Mr. Ridenour.
Thank you.
Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Ridenour.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 5-0. Now, under routine business. Attendance, under buildings and grounds. Recommend to approve H.E. Newman's Company construction proposals for Preston High rooftop unit replacement number 1 and RTU number 2 replacement. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion or questions?
One question. Were there other bids?
Beg your pardon?
Were there other bids?
Yes.
Is this,
So,
is this the required bid because it is the most, economical?
Mr. Murray processed all the bid submissions and processed all of those to get to the one you have tonight. So he went through all the proper channels.
So it is the most economical?
I believe so.
Okay.
This is,
That's required.
Is this levy money?
yeah,
This will be.
and this is, would not be tied into any of the water leak, would it? Any of
I don't
this?
know.
This is all roof units. Both these are roof units. There's not, we still have a major
These are heating
unit
and
on
cooling.
on the ground
But
that
this
needs
is,
replaced.
this has nothing to do with the leak.
Okay.
Oh.
I believe one of these is targeted for mayor, Ryan Cool, or it used to be Mark Polis, or one of those units above that classroom.
And they are not a replacement or a, work done on any of the work that was done here, about 3 to 4 years ago. That was done on the roof units at Preston High.
And say that again, what's your question?
Weren't there units replaced at Preston High?
We replaced, I don't think we
None of these
replaced.
are recent replacements.
No,
Okay.
these weren't we
None
were,
of them got-
Well, that's the question I'm gonna get asked.
yeah, no.
I guarantee you. You're replacing units that you just replaced.
Rob,
No.
I'll note your question, I'll see if I can find out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Zigray?
Yes.
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 Yes. Recommend to approve mountaintop heating and cooling construction proposals for replacement of air conditioners and evacuators at West Preston and replacement of air conditioning and evaporator and all new line sets at Kingwood Elementary School. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Do I have any questions?
Yes, I have one question.
Mr. Eidenhower?
I notice on the bid for West Preston, it says we will not need any deposit with PO number. And that same comment is not on the one for Kingwood Elementary. It says you'll need 50% down. Is that just an omission? That's for
the answer to that. Bob?
Mr. Ryder, so you said there was a bid within the bid for Kingwood that
At the very-
specified 50%.
Right, right at the bottom on the West Preston,
Right.
above where it says authorized signature date of acceptance. It says will not need any deposit with PO number, without PO number will need 50% down upon approval. On the one that was received for Kingwood Elementary, it's like part of it's missing. It just says will need 50% down upon approval.
But it
So-
looks like it's missing part of the
first half of
sentence,
that.
yeah.
It was an even more provision on West, and Kingwood seemed to be missing.
It wasn't
Yes.
more or less. You can look at it that way.
There's a section of the sentence missing on the Kingwood one.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that's
thinking
what
it
I'm
was
thinking.
omitted because
Yeah.
I don't know why they would,
I think it's the same for both of those, but
that was hurt, certainly.
I
hurt
would-
sale.
Yes.
I would,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Just
It's
wasn't
the same
typed.
company, but for some reason, it did not get printed out on there, but I will double check on that to be sure, but I'm sure it's the same.
And
other questions?
Yeah, I got a question on that. Actually, you should, second one.
Kingwood or West?
King,
Okay,
is each unit 31,000? Cause I can't add these numbers up to get the same number. So we're buying 3 units in Kingwood at a cost of 130,000, or is that the total for that number? Well, anyway, I tried to add.
cost per unit's 43,000 in
Multiply
Kingwood.
the 43, 3, 2 times 3, Jeff.
Top, denser unit, so,
Down at the bottom, it has a cost per unit.
so there's 3 units being replaced, all 3 of them then.
that's way more than that total though.
That's not. Get your calculator out, Jack, you'll find it's exactly what
Yeah, I
it
didn't
is.
do that.
Yeah, that's, it's correct.
Yeah, okay, so all 3 units are being replaced, that's what I'm.
Okay, all 3 units are being replaced and they cost $43,382.74
Per unit.
And that includes the
Times
installation and
3.
everything.
Okay, that's $130,048.22.
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking that that the total at the bottom was
Everything.
everything
No.
there. Okay. I apologize.
Oh, man. Come on. 2 of us, actually.
Well, you know, I just was, because up at the top there, the top thing, it says condensing unit and evaporator, whatever. And is that times 2 or is that just the price of the one? Is that a unit together?
That's the condensing unit and evaporator.
Together.
Yes, that's
That's
31,750.
that's not two prices there.
Right.
And I'm assuming, of course, we know that causes problems, but we are replacing a 20-ton, a 12.5-ton, and a 10-ton unit at both schools. I can't tell.
Why would you assume that?
Well, because,
I mean, it's listed on the one, but it's not, it's just listed as,
so I have no idea what those units are gonna be, how big those units are. I don't know about anybody else, maybe somebody else does. I have no idea how big those units are that they're putting at Kingwood Elementary.
I know they have 4 motors in one, so I don't know if that's a restriction. Size.
The tonnage is how many tons of air they will move, what, a day? There's a period of time. But you can't tell from that what the tonnage is at Kingwood Elementary School.
but that would have been specified on the original bid.
Well, I would hope that we had been able to see that. I would like to
Okay.
have been able to see
You want to
that. This is what you're gonna get. This is what you're agreeing to. All I have here is what's gonna cost us. Now, at West, I know what they're sending, they're intending to, and approximate cost, or the cost for the installation of each of the units. But I don't have that for Kingwood Elementary School. And the thing is, the two school buildings are the same building, roughly. The old main building at Kingwood, the Morgan Street building, not the Morgan, the High Street building, and the old K1, 2 building at West are basically the same size. Now, I assume, here I go again, because I don't have the information. That's all I can do, assume. Now, I can guess, which of course assume is worse than a guess. Assume says you know, or think you know. Second question, do we have a time frame for completion?
Yes, when I talked with Matt, it'll go into the beginning of the school year, about 6 weeks to get them both done.
So
Okay.
So the period of time that we need them the worst, they're not there.
Well, there's nothing we can do about
I
that.
know that.
I mean,
Okay, it's,
No. The problem is the units that are there now will be shut off. So there will be no air conditioning
but we
either West or
have
Kingwood.
portables that we've been using that we can continue to use there until this is all done.
Okay.
okay, if I did this right, and I'm not a math teacher, to do Kingwood Elementary, the total cost is going to be $175,791.88. Is that?
$130,148.22.
No. If you take and you multiply by 3, 43,382.74, you get 130,148.22. What about the rest of those figures above there?
That's a cost per unit, including everything that's listed above. The shipping, the labor, the copper and insulation, miscellaneous materials, that's all included.
All of this, Jack, comes together to give you this, and then you multiply this by 3 to get this.
Okay. Okay, so on the one for Kingwood, it says the labor is only for 5 days. Is it gonna take 6 weeks to get the material?
Till we get everything in there and they get the other stuff out and
They say 5 days to complete.
That's 5 days per unit.
Yeah. 5 days per unit, so it's 15 days to do it.
Okay.
which is 3-week periods.
Yeah.
But on the other one, it doesn't give you how many days it's gonna take for them. It just says labor is gonna be 9,000. Any, further questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. McCrum?
No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. 4-1.
Be happy to change it if I had the information. But I don't have it.
Under finance,
recommend to approve the schedule of checks.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Who's Cruz and Associates?
Yep.
Second page.
Any questions?
Cruz and Associates.
Who are they?
What is it?
Is that what you was talking about at the last meeting?
No.
This is different?
Well, I got the answer to that one was, water.
Yeah, I saw the answer, yeah. I saw the answer.
And who's Volunteer West Virginia Incorporated? We don't know what they did.
I would have to
And
check
Carla
with
doesn't
Katrina
make
about
that
the
mistake
Cruz and Associates.
generally.
I don't remember who they are.
Look like potentially auditing services.
Carla doesn't normally make that mistake
Make what mistake?
of not putting the description. She's doing that quite, I mean, right now, she's doing it on everybody. But those two, we don't have it.
Yeah, I would have to check on that.
Curious.
Maybe a report to the next board meeting, or an email come to board members. Or, of course, then it needs to be posted to everybody in the community.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Feathers?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5-0. Recommend to approve the counseling agreement with Tweeny,
Consulting agreement with Tawny.
Tawny Insurance and Consulting, Preston County Schools. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any questions?
Why are we going to Tawny and Associates, Tawny Insurance, instead of using what we've used in the past?
Well,
Because I've never seen one of these before.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the thing that I.
the reason this is different, Tawny and the Tawny Insurance and Consulting, they've really handled all of our workman's comp and everything combined. However, this year, we got another bid on our workman's comp that saved us considerably. So we're going another route for our workman's comp. So now we're just using them for our safety and reviews, et cetera, and to do all of that business. And so since we're not doing the full package with them, we're just doing the safety package with them. That's why we have this.
Okay, are we going to have to approve something for the workman's comp?
I would think so.
That'll come through when we have to do our pay, but we don't have to have a consulting agreement with them. Because they're just becoming our insurance agent for workman's comp.
Okay, but isn't the board gonna be informed as to
Who it is?
why and?
Well, we will
the
be doing it through Erie Insurance. In the past, we've used like Brick Street, we've used Travelers, but with Erie, it came in $100,000 cheaper. So it was, it's huge. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay,
but
We'll go with you.
I guess that was what I was trying to figure out is why we changed this agreement and why there wasn't another agreement if we were
Because-
eliminating.
through the Erie part, I don't have the option to do the safety stuff that we
Okay.
need. And
Okay.
so I'm keeping the other group to do that piece of it.
They didn't raise the,
No,
say, okay, you're gonna leave me with this, I'll just raise that and.
Yeah, they
get
didn't.
Okay.
because they'll want to try to work with us again. I mean,
Any-
if they can get our workman's compact.
Yeah.
It
Any,
helps to
Not at
get some
$100,000
competition.
different.
No.
any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Ridenhour?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5-0. Personnel. Recommend, do I have a motion to recommend to approve the personnel agenda with the additions on the information you received tonight?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I don't know if this is the time to ask this. The 6 new teachers based on class enrollment on levy, I was just wondering if we could add those in because August 1st is coming quick. And, I'm looking at the numbers here of enrollment. Our bigger schools, probably could use some help since we, offered that in the levy. There's a specific line item.
Where we were, excuse me, Mr. Zigri, where we were holding off is waiting to find out what happened with Head Start, because if we had to pick up all of those positions, that was going to affect, obviously, we were going to have to pick up those teaching positions out of the levy funds, because that was going to put us over formula. I got a call from Head Start just here, on Friday of last week. They've got their grant renewed, so they're coming for a meeting, and so hopefully we can get that kind of stuff rolling on the next agenda, which will still give us time.
Okay, that'll give us time before August 1 to take care of these 6 positions.
We should be able, like, we're gonna know what all our numbers are at this point, except for the last minute additions, But, we'll have our plan together of exactly where we're putting everybody.
So if we vote on it next meeting, and we hire someone, still have to have interviews, would we have to hire someone before August 1 for them to obtain that position? Or would that have to be a sub in there for the whole year?
Like we have our July 22nd meeting, and then the next meeting is August the 12th, which is the first day of staff. So my goal is to hopefully have as much as we can in the hiring process in place on July 22nd. If we still have a lot of outstanding positions at that point that we're still hoping to get filled with all these TBDs, et cetera, then what I might ask then is for the board to schedule a special session prior to the start of school, just for the purpose of hiring the personnel so we can get them in place prior to August 12th.
And to amend our policy to allow us to do it in August. Because policy now says August 1, nobody's hired after that point. Everybody has to be sub, because you don't be hired for next year.
No, you can still hire people there. What you have to do is decide if you're going to allow people to transfer within your system after that point. You can hire new people anytime. You don't have to make them subs.
Let's say we have someone that wants to transfer into one of those jobs.
That's what I mean. Now, transfers you don't have to allow, or that's a decision, a recommendation that I have to make, whether I'm going to allow a transfer to happen. But my point is, we want to make sure we have everything in place to start school. So if we don't have every job filled by July 22nd, I will probably ask for a special meeting for the purpose of personnel for any jobs that would close between then and August 12th, because then
Well, we could have it
people
July
can start the job.
29th for that fact.
Exactly.
Okay, so that would be before August 1.
Yes.
Mr. Watkins, at your discretion, you can choose to allow a transfer even after.
Absolutely.
All right, so if someone got riffed and we hire them back August 5th, they could go back in that position and not have to wait a whole year to get back into that spot if you decide on it.
That's why I asked for, at this meeting, by room, classroom.
And we're still,
Now,
well,
right now, to have it today.
well, you don't have it today, Mr. McCrum, because there have been some health issues with some of our staff here that have taken precedence over us being able to get all of those numbers pulled together from those people. But we will have them together and ready to start school. But again, there were unexpected health crises in some people that I'm not going to discuss publicly that has prevented us from being able to do that.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, back to what you said about the Head Start. I'm confused
Because Head Start,
Were we gonna use those 6 levy positions for Head Start positions?
well, what happens is, like Head Start currently places 3 teachers within our system, and they pay for those positions. So if Head Start's grant was not refunded, we were going to have to pick up those 3 additional positions. So
Okay.
those would have had to have come out of levy funding, because otherwise we'd be over formula. There's nowhere else to pay for them from.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, but when you go out in the public and they see 6 teachers based off class size enrollment numbers to reduce the enrollment, that's one of the questions I'm getting. And I just want to be able to answer it.
Well, we'll be able to do that.
And I just think if we don't do what we say in there, just like promoting
Levy.
mechanic and stuff, some people say, well, you put it down in there, now you're doing something else.
Well, we're not going to do anything different with that. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. We just got to get the numbers solidified. And we'll have the 6 teachers.
Mr. Wise, earlier question for Crews and Associates is for capital lease payments.
It's what?
For capital, I contacted Mrs. Kirsten, she indicated that's a firm we use to make our capital lease payments to.
All. Okay.
And that firm's out of Morgantown, I can try to get some additional detail, that's just via text. Also got
That's all I need.
I will say, Mr. Kime, with the current personnel agenda, you will see that the principal at Brewston resigned her position, but she alerted us well over a week ago that she would be accepting a new position, which allowed us to go ahead and post her job. And Brad and Angie and I conducted those interviews today so that we could get the person hired this evening, so they can just
Start.
there's not going to be a downtime. But I will say that Ms. Moss worked very hard to get everything in place for the new person to come in. So there's a schedule in place. She didn't leave us empty-handed. She worked very hard to get everything in place for a new person coming in, so it would be a smooth transition. But so that's why we're able to approve her resignation tonight and hire the new person all in the same meeting.
Any further questions?
Just a statement, Mr. Roger. I know, I'm not talking about people. I know what you ran into. I mean, I don't know specifically. I cannot see how you are able to riff and transfer by the 1st of April without those numbers. How many classrooms you're going to have at each school. And you know, I've said this for 13 years now.
I don't know what you mean.
You have put out numbers for teachers and service personnel that said we're going to have to reduce your job, or we're going to have to transfer you based on the numbers of students that are going to be in the classrooms at whatever school that is.
Right, and we provided you those numbers.
But the problem is, that's school. That doesn't tell me 3 teachers at Kingwood instead of 4.
Yes, it does.
2 teachers, we have to hire a new teacher at Aurora. Because in April, I should have that information.
You did have that information.
I had the information that you provided that you were going to say, but I do not have by teacher, by position at each school. And I'm sorry, but I don't have that. I've looked. I have your piece of paper where you told us that you were planning on hiring these many people. These many people would have to be transferred, and these many people would have to be rescinded. But I don't have your information.
That is my information, the ones you were presented when we do the transfer. Back when we,
I'm done talking. I'm sorry.
oh, and so am I.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Zigray?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5-0. Recommend the approval of the service personnel agenda with the additions that are on tonight's information.
Move the acceptance.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. McCrone?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5-0. Is there any new business that needs to go on to coming agendas? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
It's been moved and second, we adjourn. And I'll call for the vote. Ms. Feathers?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5-0. 6:28.